goal is really not there to be achieved. A goal is to give you direction.
Welcome to the Swisspreneur Show, a podcast about startup stories and learnings from experienced entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Sylvan.
Welcome back to a new episode of the Swisspreneur Show. Today we have two guests here. Anne, we already know you from the first episode. You are the co-founder and CEO of Knekker, a startup which produces protein-rich vegan crackers. And we also have your husband here today, Tobias. A very well welcome to the show to both of you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
No, I really, Sylvan, I want to say thank you, especially because not that we're here, but because you're doing such a great show for the startup community here in Switzerland. Because, it requires inspiration for many young entrepreneurs or people who consider to become entrepreneurs to do this. And when I look at all your podcasts, it's a fascinating source of inspiration. So really, thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. It's exactly our goal to inspire more people to start their own company. So I would say goal achieved in that regard, if you perceive it that way. Let's quickly introduce you to Tobias. We already talked to Anne in the first episode. You are the other half of the Richter dream team, so to speak. You are a serial entrepreneur in the medtech and dental industry, and most notably known for TRI Dental Implants, a global innovation leader in digital implant solutions. So it's really great to have you here today. Yeah. Can you maybe quickly summarize, what led you to this path of becoming a serial entrepreneur yourself? Basically, Anne told us in the first episode, you've been that way since she got to know you.
Yes. Yeah, I think there are 2 points in your question. Like, first of all, why medtech? And the second, why entrepreneur? Because to be honest, it really goes back to my family background. My father was a medical doctor, a surgeon. So the lunch talks, the dinner talks were all about amputated feet, surgeries and these kind of things. But I was fascinated and I was able to visit the clinic and I could see what was the impact on injured people towards then being healed people and the impact that he had on them. And so this was fascinating. That's why I wanted to study medicine. I didn't do it then because I thought it's too limiting. I go for business. And I studied business and went back to medicine. Why do I say this? Because I think it's, and especially, when people listen, it's really important that you choose an area where you become active, where you really have a purpose for, where you really feel in the morning, why do I get up? This is the reason why I get up. So this was, I think, one major decision, more important than becoming an entrepreneur, I would say, at the beginning. And then entrepreneur, I started my career at the world leader for dental implants, Straumann in Switzerland, to learn about stuff. I didn't have the clear intention to become an entrepreneur, but in there I saw, that not always the best innovative ideas come to the top, that a lot of politics play a role, people games, and I felt limited. And on top of that, we saw an opportunity with some colleagues to create a new way of providing dental implants through an online platform at a fraction of the cost. So lower price for patients, lower price for dentists, really giving a benefit, providing implants to more people than before. And we started the company not with the thought of becoming an entrepreneur, but really because there was a cause, there was an opportunity. And we were really, it was the right time at the right place. We were very lucky. 2007, we grew in 3 years up to almost 20 million revenue. And the company was then sold to the Danaher Group. So when I look back at that time, I became a member of the EO, Entrepreneur Organization. And I realized what privilege it is to be an entrepreneur. And I realized how much energy I take out of the fact that I am self-determined. I'm in control of what I'm doing and in control of my destiny, And that really then triggered in me the fact to want to be an entrepreneur. And I started then TRI, as the company that you mentioned before, where we also had the aim to use the most digital technologies to improve and even revolutionize implant dentistry. And then as I was in the area of dental, we started a platform called www.dentalcampus.com, which is all about e-learning, so helping dentists to learn how to use implants in a better way. And in 2018, I co-founded a dental clinic group, so where we employed dentists. We have now 100 dentists in the group.
Wow.
So from A to Z, providing implants to training to the effective application, we're covering the circle, and we are now considering to start a company in the field of AI to really deep dive dental, because dental is very digital, and with AI you can create a lot of benefits. Now, if I look back on this fact of being a serial entrepreneur, I think the key point is you have a lot of challenges and you have a lot of problems. The key point is, and that's now the circle to my start, is what's your purpose? And I tell my employees every day that when they see problems, or they feel that the job maybe is not so exciting for the moment, they should just think about all the implants that on this particular day are provided to patients, because you see patients coming with no teeth, totally disillusioned, and they leave with a smile. It changes really their life. And then if you think about that, then really it's much easier to get up in the morning.
I can imagine.
So yeah, the entrepreneur is in the end also a question that everybody, I think, concerns. What do you do in life, and are you passionate for it? Yeah. And for all of those who are hesitant to become an entrepreneur, there's this nice story about a person, about parachuting. When you want to parachute, you're really afraid of jumping out of the plane.
Right.
I'm not sure. And then you go through training, and you get all the information on what to pull and what to do when you jump out, what height you are on, etc. And even just before you jump out, you're still not sure, and you want to maybe go down. And this is a little bit like about becoming an entrepreneur, because you're really afraid about what's on the other side. Mm-hmm. But when you jump, and this is the interesting thing, you don't think about your fear. You think about acting. You think about, what do I pull? Where height am I in? And it's a lot of fun too. So it's a nice parable that maybe people who are not sure about it should take to their heart.
Take the leap and jump.
Take the leap and jump, yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing this impressive journey, and really great to have you here today.
Yeah.
We're basically going to talk about two entrepreneurs in one house, the entrepreneurial family organization model, so to speak. So first of all, I just wonder, Anne, when you met Tobias, he was already an entrepreneur. So being entrepreneurial, was this spirit one of the things which first attracted you to one another?
At the first moment, I haven't realized that he is an entrepreneur. I was attracted, but as soon as he told me about what he is doing, I was really attracted by it, because it was his passion, his motivation, and this positive thinking about having an impact. And this was really important for me, because if you listen to my interview, it's not just about making money. It's about making a positive impact by acting confident and on your own. And this is something what Tobias is doing. And that was for me very attractive when I met him. I was really fascinated. But he founded his company 1 week before we met. So I really was with the early steps involved. And for sure,
he's co-founder in a way.
Sort of,
yeah. So it was really interesting to see how he developed in the last 10 years his company, from a small company with one desk to today what he give you an impression of, like having 4 or 5 investments. Yeah.
Fantastic. And, in that regard, Tobias, a question to you. As an entrepreneur, you enjoy a lot of flexibility. So is this an advantage or a disadvantage for your romantic relationship?
I would start by saying that the 3 kids are maybe the obstacle for the romantic relationship.
Fair point. We're going to talk about that also in the session today.
But no, I think it's an advantage, because in the end, as I said before, there is, despite all the challenges that you have as an entrepreneur, you have the great privilege of having more time or to decide on how you share your time. And so this freedom to structure your time in the best way gives you then the chance also that we take moments for a common lunch, or a nights out, or a weekend, etc. That is a privilege, I think, and an advantage. But it is obviously the companies are very deep in your relationship. And therefore, you have to be very conscious and aware to split the time between these two topics.
Yeah. And do you have an example of, how this flexibility shows in your daily life? Like, do you say, I want to take lunch and go to the swimming pool with the kids in the afternoon, and then you do your calls and work in the evening? Or how does that look like in your daily life?
Yeah, we manage it exactly like this. So we have an au pair at home who helps us to give us the flexibility. And we choose an au pair because she lives in. And so she has also the flexibility to jump in. For example, tomorrow afternoon, I have an appointment. So then Tobias is working, so she has to move in. So that gives us more flexibility because we both have pressure on our business. And we try to, every Sunday evening, we sit together and go through the week. But the week come always different as we expected. So there could be times where we sit together with 6 people additional au pair at the lunchtime and we don't need her. And there could be times where we are both not there and she manage it. So the kids are, knowing that this is working like this.
In that regard, do you have any sort of an organizational system or structure that you follow?
Yeah, we have an joining timetable. So he has to put into my timetable his travel targets and on appointments, especially appointments before 9 and after 6:30, because no one of us can leave without talking with the other one, because if we both leave on the same moment, there's no one at home. So we have to talk a lot, and we sit usually on Sunday evening and go through the week. Do we have everything solved? And and Tobias is very good in organizational instruments.
So you have anything to add on that? How you structure the organization?
He structured me. I try to.
No. That's. I think no. I know not much. I think the most important thing is the common overview of the week, and then the the calendar sharing. More on a I would say on a annual basis. We have also our plans, where we retreat over New Year's Eve to a place which we really love in the mountains, and which is a little bit distant to the normal traffic. Nice. And there we deep dive and make an annual review, and we make an annual forecast as well. We set a little bit our goals. She doesn't like it so much, but
because he set up targets also for the children, like learning to walk. I mean, but also we always talk about what are their hobbies, what do they, and I think targets are, in a family is sometimes an advantage to have too much targets, but it's good to reflect the last year and to see what kind of development do we have? And important is where do we need more support? Mm-hmm. This is probably the most important issue we have to tackle, to see where is the support coming from. So the kids are going sometimes for lunch at school, and do we have an additional person here or there? Or how could we manage the whole system with 2 people who are working?
And we also, this is maybe good for insight for others as well. There's a good tool called the Wheel of Life, which are 8 areas of your life, and then you really go through each area, like health, hobbies, friends, relationship, family, finance, career, and spirituality, and then you say, how was the year? Is this rounded up? Are we balanced? What should we do in the upcoming year? So I think this is important to mention, because it's not only about organizing and technically like here this time, but it's really about do we make sure to fulfill all dimensions of a fulfilled life, and not getting dragged into this channel of business.
But we are not doing this with the kids, just with
Okay. Where can people find that template?
If you want, I can share it on your platform.
Sure.
I can't recall, the website, because I've been using it now for 10 years. Right. So it's more a tool that I use for myself. But
you can send it over, and then we add it to the show notes.
Yeah.
Let's also dive in a bit more on your structured meetings. So you have your weekly get-togethers where you basically plan the week. How long do they take? What do you actually discuss in there?
We have 2 meetings. We have one meeting between us 2.
Okay.
And we have another meeting with the kids. Tobias implemented this. That's the sound family conference. We said,
family conference.
Yeah, but we name it Basilicum.
Yes.
And the good thing is that the kids are always getting some sweets or chips, so they have a positive...
manipulated in a way.
You basically bribed them.
Yes, And we had to get it going. Yeah, now they are there.
And we try to do it every Sunday for like half an hour maximum, and then we sit together, and one of the kids or one of us is the leader of this meeting, and then we talk about the last week.
The kids can also be leader.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
It's difficult if the 4-year-old one is the leader, but we try to do it. And Then everyone has talk about how was the last week, what was the good and bad things, what do we expect for the next week, and everyone can mention some easy stuff to change. But we also ask questions like, what are your expectations for the next holidays or something? And it's really interesting because first I thought like, don't ask the kids too much, but the answers inspiring us to solve things differently as we thought. Cool. To give an example, for example, we go with the night train with the car this year to holidays because our oldest son, who's 8 years old, mentioned this instead of flying somewhere. He said, let's go by train. And we said, yeah, why not? That's a good idea. So this is
true, yeah.
Yeah. So this is an instrument we use to talk with the kids, and after we talk together and use like our schedules and Excel sheets. We have an Excel planning also we make the next year planning with time schedules and also financial plannings and things like this. We have a lot of tools we use together to talk together about our family and our businesses.
So in that regard, Tobias, how does that look like when you have the meeting together? What do you discuss there, and how long does it take?
No, I think it sounds a little bit more too how to say, too technical. Okay. Actually, it's the meeting can be in the bed, sure. with a laptop on your knees, and you talk the week through. And this is sometimes when everything is clear, it can be only 10 minutes. But if something is not clear, it's maybe a little bit longer. It can also be in the garden so it's not a institutionally structured meeting that 6 o'clock, honey, now we have to have a meeting.
No, and could be also with a glass of wine.
But with all these things happening, it's also a natural process. It's not like that we have to remind ourselves, because it is an essential that we coordinate.
Right. And, when we talk about goal setting, how do you set your goals? Do you also focus on these 8 areas when you do the annual review, or how do you set the goals for your personal life, but also for your business life?
Yes, absolutely. So these 8 areas are really, really helpful. I mean, I can only recommend that, because what you do is you take each of these segments. Let's take the topic of relationship or family. And then you give each of these dimensions a grade, 0 to 10. Yeah, and then it's in a circle, so you have a spider web, and then you see where the weaknesses are, and then you deliberately think about, okay, let's say a relationship. When we had our small kids, relationship definitely was a challenge. So we said, what should we do this year to counter that? So we said, let's make sure that we have once a week a lunch, where we talk love lunch, we call it.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we talk about that, or if it's a topic, or if it's in the area of friends, which is also a challenge when you start a company of kids. You don't have so much that you actually. I make sure say I try to call every week a person I haven't called for a long time of my friends. And it doesn't sound much, but actually it's an effort. You have to do it.
True.
And it's great because you and so this is the way you analyze then sort of where you are, and then you set these goals based on where you feel you didn't perform so well. And then there are obviously the goals on top, which you sort of the midterm and long-term goals. There's not only annual goals, like you have maybe a bigger goal, for your company. Where do you want to be in 3 years and 5 years, and how can you deduct the goals for this? So I hope this helps a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you
bucket
also
list? We have also.
Yeah. Oh, a bucket list. Yeah, we get to that in a second.
Have a bucket list.
Yeah, that's right. I want to know what's on there.
I want to know your bucket list.
1 second. But before we do so, the goals. You said you do that over New Year's when you go to your retreat,
and then we fix it.
Yes,
we fix the goals. And then I actually do that a little bit more than Anne. I on a quarterly basis look at it and see what we have achieved, and I can now look at it and see that we are on track for the year or not.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, that's.
Do your goals sometimes also change during the year?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that's also an important insight. Anyone who is too fixed up with their own goals really gets into big problems. You get stressed out. So you have to always reassess the situation. Does it still make to keep that goal? Yeah. And I don't know who said it, but once someone said a goal is really not there to be achieved. A goal is to give you direction. Yeah. And I think that's very true because in the end, this particular goal is always somehow not achieved. It's a different result. And I think that's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? You start out with an idea, and then at the end, your company value proposition looks really different to what you thought at the beginning, because you learned, you adapted. And I think it's the same for goals,
You probably have a vision, but the way there is flexible. You always have to adapt and find new ways to get there.
Yes.
So, and the surroundings also changing, like the Corona situation gave us a lot of different directions last year.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, Anne, usually as an entrepreneur, you know it yourself, you deal with a lot of ups and downs. We talked about it in the first episode. So what do you actually do if both of you go through a really intense phase? How do you support each other? What do you do? Do you even have time and energy for your structure and for your family life?
I'm a very positive person at the moment. I can't remember on the phase where we both were in deep. But the thing is, what keeps me always in very good impact is that the other person, we are not part of the other company, but we can ask, or we talk a lot about our companies with each other. And the perspective of the other is always from a brighter view. And it gives me and it brings me on the next level. So if I see just a deep, then he comes and says, don't focus on this, have a look at that. And then it helps me to proceed. And I think it's also the other way around.
Correct, absolutely.
So the opinion of the other on my business is always helpful and gives me another perspective and helps me to go through this deep.
I think when you work in there's this saying, you should not work so much in the company, but on the company, because in the company you lose. And I think that's where we are really good partners, because each of us makes sure that a little bit this bird's eye view, this on the company is still kept in perspective. So that's really good. Yeah.
And what should your partner actually do, when you are stressed and just don't have the usual energy? Is there anything that your partner can do, or is that your own responsibility to get you out of there?
Yeah, I for myself, I actually say it's a little bit my responsibility, and I have my tools. Like I do a lot of sport, especially in the morning, which sort of frees me up. And I also have my daily routines, like an app where I practice gratitude and sort of review what has been good at the day to keep also a positive mindset and to not get dragged down by challenges. But obviously, I think we both sometimes recognize, when the other one is stressed out, that he needs his own time, and says, okay, and maybe it's better if you just go into the room and we don't continue this talk. Right. And the same the other way around. Obviously, we also have our difficult situations, but I think this is something that how to manage stress is maybe to give the other person the room to find his balance in that day or that week.
Yeah, I also I think everyone is responsible for his own emotions. Mm-hmm. So our way is that we separate then and go for a walk, coming back, going early to bed, and sometimes I know that it's not something to do with my person why he is. It has something to do with his business stress. So you have to separate this from your own. Yeah.
Got it.
Before we continue with the show, we would like to introduce you to our new partner, Nuco. Nuco helps founders navigate the paperwork that starting a company involves. From the first consultation all the way to the commercial register, Nuco has helped more than 900 entrepreneurs start their company, and they do so at highly competitive prices. To find out more, visit nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. Again, that's nuco.ch/Swisspreneur. And now, on with the show.
And the ups and downs, they can also be reflected in financial life. I mean, two entrepreneurs, that usually means also two volatile incomes. If business goes well, it's a big party. If not, it's probably, okay, what do we cook for dinner tonight? Hopefully not that extreme, but you get the point. So how do you actually also deal with that as a couple, with the financial planning? You mentioned an Excel sheet before. So how do you go about that topic?
Yes, I think as a family, you obviously, when you have a family, it becomes a bigger role, you know, because there's a greater responsibility. When I was alone, you know, I didn't care really, to be honest, but it becomes a bigger role. And especially in the first years of my company, TRI, we had, you know, a financial problem at the beginning, and it was a real challenge. So I was not so much worried about the financials in the end, because I had the belief that we can make it. But still, you look at it, and I think what is important is that you have a good financial planning and some security there. So actually, now today we are a little bit more. We try to make sure that we have security of 2 years actually, because of the family. It's a really much bigger responsibility, and changes take a long time.
So basically, that means 2 years of living expenses up in cash.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. Yeah. So, but I'm also, I mean, generally speaking, I've always taken greater care as an entrepreneur to have a bigger position as liquidity, cash liquidity, than in assets that are not so fastly liquid. Because first of all, to be reactive and invest in the company if it's required to drive further developments, but secondly also for the family.
And we talked about this question also yesterday, because I think also our value of lifestyle is very continuing. So we don't celebrate parties too much. So we have like a very good value and lifestyle with we don't stop to buy clothes second hand, or we don't stop to do things just because we earned a bit more money. So that keeps us a very easy way.
Yeah. I think that's a really important learning for anyone, whether you have family or not. If you make more money, don't upgrade your lifestyle and your fixed expenses, especially, because if you do so, you just get basically caught up in the rat race.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you don't get more happiness.
No, maybe for 10 seconds.
Yeah, 10 seconds, yes. But it ends when the transaction of the credit card has already
exactly.
No, I know it's not.
So the biggest question for us here to ask is, do you also get involved in the business of your partner? I mean, you probably share advice or challenges, or do you strictly separate it? And how do you handle that?
Yeah, I think we do know. I mean, there's always a fine balance, you know, when you step one foot too far, because you know, in the end, it's a little bit like at EO you have the feedback rule of never giving recommendations. Yes. But rather telling stories on a similar situation that you had, so that the other person doesn't feel that, you know, that this is now something that he could be doing better, but rather learns something from the situation. Yeah. But when you're in a daily exchange, this is not always possible. So it's a fine line where you sometimes step over and the other says, okay. And you will say this, you say, no, stop me. And I will also say, hey, this is my business. Okay, right. I can. But I think what we really cherish is the fact that we are a good sounding board for each other, you know? So when you want to test an idea, when you have a new draft of an email to all the employees or the shareholders or whatever, you know, these things, then Anne is really a very important, for me, very important check control. That this makes sense. This is the right level of from talking. Yes, and so the sounding board, I guess, is the best word for it.
Yeah, Tobias is definitely my best sparring partner for all of my ideas. I coming home, I see something, we share everything, and since I found my business, it's also good for our relationship because we have really something we share. I talk about my business, he's talking about his business. We give our opinion, but still. My business, his business is his business, and he's the expert for dentals, and I'm the expert for protein food. So
do you also preach like full transparency in that regard when it comes to financials or hires and fires? I mean,
sure,
that's also part of the game.
Absolutely.
We have family. We have one. I mean, at the end, it's the companies are part of the family. So bigger decisions we discuss always.
But to your question before, you know, we are not active in the respective companies, like a functional role or a board member, etc. Yeah.
Have you ever considered starting a company together? Because that would seem like the logical next step.
Yeah, I'm thinking how we can combine plant-based proteins with dental.
Tricky.
Yes, it's definitely good for the teeth. but we haven't considered it. And at the moment, we are so busy with all our stuff that sure, absolutely. I mean, especially now with the Knecker business, we are much more working on similar topics, because the question of sales and marketing, operations, production, investor regulatory affairs, internationalization, these are the same in a way. Even sure, different target groups, B2B, B2C, etc. But it's similar questions that and therefore, yes, I could imagine that.
I mean, if Tobias had more time, I'm open that he jump in and work for my company. I think the other way around, it's the same. So I trust him. I know that he has good ideas, and then he could bring added value to my company. But at the moment, it's not planned.
And you also mentioned that it was very appealing to you that Tobias was an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Have you ever wished that he wasn't an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm.
For sure, there are some days where I thought being employee, it gives us a bit more security especially regarding holidays, because all the other fathers and mothers, they have fixed holidays, and then they go just for 2 or 3 weeks in summer. Or in our first years, I could remember that we had probably 2 days in summer where we've been in Engadin for hiking or things like this, where I thought like but the kids were very small at this time. And now we have it the other way around, because now I founded my company and Tobias is planning this year 3 weeks holidays, and I'm getting a bit afraid of his expectations of my free time.
Yeah.
But we work anyhow in the holidays, both. So we have our laptop with us in the digital world. You can make video conferences. So it's not a stop like it was in the past. But these were phases where I thought like having an employee husband could be also in this aspect positive.
But I think this is really digitalization, and Corona has shown it, has really changed the way you can now combine, obviously, your private time, your holidays, and your business. I mean, and therefore this is definitely improved in that sense, that we really cherish this flexibility. And you've heard it from many other people as well. Corona was a great thing for families and for us as well. It really created new dynamics, new ways of working together, and I'm very grateful for Corona in that sense. Obviously, not in the other areas. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, talking about family, you have 3 kids, 8, 7, and 4 years old. Mm. You mentioned before you also have your family conference called Basilicum. So I just wonder, what else has changed in your organizational model from now having kids to before having kids?
Well, before having kids wasn't such a long time. True. I met Anne 1 week after the foundation of the company TRI. Yeah. And then I proposed like 9 months later, and we married like 12 months later after a meeting, and she was already pregnant with our first child. So we never really, and we didn't live even together when we married. We were not
separate. I was in Germany and he was in Zurich, and I moved to Zurich 6 weeks before giving birth. So we started to be together with kids. So we have not really life before.
Yeah, exactly. So we always were used to it, and I think with kids the great, I think. But this is not, I think, something an entrepreneur is special. It's also the same for an employee. You have to really consciously make time for the children, especially in the evenings, and try to be there for dinner and at bedtime. So I wouldn't say that the organization model is there so different. And we have the luxury of being more in control, maybe over our time. Mm-hmm. And with the family comfort, this is really the most important tool. We make sure that, all expectations are aligned and that the right things are planned. Yeah.
I also really like it that it sort of also forces the kids to reflect and, to think about what do I like, what do I not like.
Yeah, and forces not only the kids, forces the parents to listen. Yeah. Because it's really amazing what comes out. Yeah. And just the question, what was good last week? Yeah. What would you like to do in your holiday? What do you think about your piano teacher right now? Whatever, it's amazing what comes out of the kids, and I think it's a lesson for everybody to take conscious time with the kids to listen. But the environment is important. You really have to sit at the table, so it has to be a structured environment. So you can't do it on the couch or in the bed or so. Really invite so that the kids know, okay, this is now our meeting. Right. And everyone is all. In the beginning, we draw who's the leader. So our 4-year-old can be the leader of the conference. We help him and coach him a little bit then what he should say. Cool. But so everybody feels responsible in a way for the meeting and knows this is important, and also now collects during the week topics that might be important and that they bring in the Sunday's meeting, because otherwise it is the week goes by and you don't talk about it, you don't touch it, and here they know, hey, I have this topic, so I don't want that mom and dad, for example, talk so much about business at the dinner table. So now it's forbidden, and as soon as she mentions Knecker or eye implants or whatever, the kids say, stop, they throw food at you, that's really. But it's good, because we made our rules and we have to stick to the rules, because there's a rule page and we follow up with the rules. Every Sunday you revisit the rules. Nice. So all in a positive way. That's why Anne said, we have some sweets and chips so that it's not too overloaded, but it's a very recommendable tool. Yeah.
And I guess also the duration is important. Like you don't want to make it too long, otherwise the attention span declines.
Yes. So it's max 20 to 30 minutes. More is not possible. But it's good, it's just.
And, in that regard, kids, especially before their teenage years, they also ask for your undivided attention. I mean, they really do want to have your full attention when they're spending time with you. So in that regard, you mentioned the advantages of digitization before, but at the same time, having your phone and therefore sort of also your office always with you can also be a big challenge where you then suddenly start to divide the attention. So Anne, how did you or do you manage this these days? I can imagine that this is not always an easy trade-off.
No, it's not. It's difficult. And the kids also see me a lot with my mobile or with my laptop working. And but I think we are not perfect, but every week we start to make some things better and to say, okay, now we stop to have the phones at the table, or we have defined working hours. And usually I try to be at home at 4, and then between 4 and 6, I'm not working. And then bring them to bed, and after that I work again. So it's always, we try to keep clear phases where we are not working.
Do you have any additional tips that you can share how to be more attentive despite the digital tools available?
I just from my side, because it's a learning process that we are going through right now. It's you mentioned that. You mentioned that. Is to really when you talk with a child, then really be fully there for the child and look into the eyes, and so that he really appreciates the moment. Because I think it's not necessary to the whole day to be always there present, the child will take up a lot of energy out of, maybe short but very intense sessions. So when we spend time with the kids, then we one-on-one, not 3, because this is also a problem. 3 kids together, you dilute a little bit the messages and the child doesn't feel aware. True. So with each child, you have to make sure that you make special activities. So take out one child, for example, on a trip, only him, and then talk with him. I always say him, by the way, because we have 3 boys, so just so he's gender neutral.
Full disclosure.
Full disclosure. So really making sure that every child gets attention. Personal, P2P attention, and with eye contact, really. That's maybe that's important.
That's something we are in the middle of a process also. We change also every week or every time again to get a better week. So it's like having eye contact, building up a connection with the child, and then the things they can learn easier. Everything is going easier when you work via a connection and a relationship with the child. And this is something what sometimes, I realized that with 3 children and a lot of action in the house, I lost to watch at the child directly and to talk with the child for how was your day, how can I help you? And as soon as I started this again, I saw that they also listen better in things that I expect from them. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So, yeah.
I think we covered a wide range of topics in this session. It's super impressive and also very exciting to talk about that, because I think that's something we rarely cover on the podcast. So do you have any last recommendation for entrepreneurial couples that you would like to share?
I always say all in, you know.
And I would say don't be too perfect. I mean, all in. I mean, Tobias is he's pushed a lot of pressure, and he's always in moving forwards, and he's very enthusiastic. And on the other hand, you also need a time of relaxation and to keep it cool. No one is perfect. And if I go in the evening to bed and think about this day, I could every evening I think about things I could do better the next day. And this is okay, because then I have the next targets for the next days. So it's no one is perfect. I mean, everyone gives his best, and you can change every day your behaviors, and you can change yourself and your surrounding and the way how you act with your partner and your children. Every day you can change it again, and you can get in a more positive way on the next day. That's important to think
And
about.
this is what I was meant by all in, because I think all in means if someone is an entrepreneur or she's an entrepreneur, then you should not make the sacrifice of saying not to have a family, because a family is a huge. I don't mean this as I say it now. Like, it's a burden in a way to run a business, because it's a challenge. But then over time with the family, you also then, I think you become in a way a more conscious leader, because you really you create, you know that there's something greater out there than your business. Puts you on the down earth. And secondly, you become more aware of the responsibility that you have as an individual person, not only for your employees or your customers, but also, in bringing up children and making them in a good world and in a good way, besides the relationship that we have as a couple. But so by all in, I meant don't do one or the other thing.
Don't struggle too much.
Don't do one not. You should do both, because it's exciting. Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful message to take home, really. There's one last thing that I want to talk about, and that's something where you went all in. You wrote a song for Anne about the Knekker song, it's called.
Yes.
So can you give us a bit the backstory, how that happened, and how you actually ended up writing a song for your entrepreneurial wife?
Yes, so the song is for her business, the Knekker song, and maybe you can actually say.
Yeah, I mean, he's a musician in heart, and he was already, when I met him, he was already compose music, writing music, and I was very fascinated of this. And when I found Knekker, I saw a lot of times that people talk about we can make music, and I said we can do it also. We can make a song for Knekker, because you are a musician, and then I choose my favorite song, and now I tell you an insight. The real name of the song was Liebe, love. So, and I asked Tobias, can we use this song and rewrite it for Knekker? And he said, yeah, okay, we can do it. And so in our bed at night, we were sitting together and we were writing the text, and it was a really funny ceremony. And and then with a friend of us, you produced it.
Yeah.
But this also gives you a new kick to publish all the other songs of you as Spotify and to bring it on Spotify, because I asked him, we have to get it on Instagram. I want to put it on my stories. And so it was a new target for us to bring to bring all the songs on Spotify, to put all the songs in Instagram and everything. Yeah. And we did it, and it was a common project, and it's a lot of fun for us to do it. And
it's a good thing, a good example for the inspiration that you can get out of your companies that you run, because I really have been making music a lot, especially when I was younger, and I always wanted to release sort of the music on Spotify, and this was now the moment. Knekker was the trigger. Yeah. We wrote the song, and I think it came out well. And the other songs are there. So this is also part of, if you ask about ups and downs, definitely a big up and an unexpected
And
up.
I mean, it's fantastic. I have now my own Knekker song written and sung from my husband. I mean, I'm really proud about this.
Maybe I just close the circle as we're finishing here with, my parable of at the beginning of, the jumping out of the plane with a parachute.
Right.
I think, it is, you asked me what is the recommendation for others. Really make the step out of your, I know Anne doesn't like this saying, but step out of your comfort zone of your established job, because it is amazing what you will find on the other side. An experience that maybe is not as you thought, but is definitely enriching for your life. And when I look, and when you always think about when you look back later on and what you've done, I think it's great to say, okay, I tried this, I saw this, and then new things appear that we write together a song. I never would have expected that, but it's the result of a process of making these steps, that she took a step and a leap into a job, in a business, starting a business. And so suddenly we can bring this together. So, everyone should just take a step out and jump with a parachute out of the plane, because it's an exciting ride.
100%. So thank you so much for stopping by. We're going to end this episode with the Knekker song. We wish you all the best, lots of success for whatever you will tackle next. Maybe eventually in a few years, even a company together. Who knows? Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, Silvan.
Thank you so much.
And here's the Knekker song to end this episode.
Ein Tag zum Erinnern, die Sonne mit dir, schimmerndes Glimmern, der Tag liegt vor dir, ein Pulsschlag so heiter, eine Aussicht zum Glück, treiben dich weiter, bestimmt dein Geschick. Du lebst jeden Tag mit Herz, bist voll aktiv, jeden Schritt mit Schwung ganz intensiv, frei und glücklich in der weiten Natur, mit allem was du hast, du bist es pur. Du suchst nach einem Snack mit echtem Geschmack, etwas mit nem richtig guten Knack, etwas für die Seele und den Tatendrang. Ein Snack voll Protein, vegan, das ist Knekker. Dein Power-Snack zum Glück, einfach lecker. Mit Protein am Stück, frisch vom Bäcker. Vegan bringt dich in Form, das ist Knekker. Oh, er treibt dich weit nach vorn. Du gehst hinaus und lebst den Tag. Mit jedem Schritt und jeder Tat. Folgst deiner Leidenschaft auf deinem Weg zum Glück. Du spürst, du bist am rechten Ort. Kein Blick führt mehr zurück von dort. Und Knekker, dein Power-Snack zum Glück, einfach lecker. Oh, mit Protein am Stück, frisch vom Bäcker. Vegan bringt dich in Form, das ist Knekker. Oh, er treibt dich weit nach vorn. Du lebst jeden Tag mit Herz, bist voll aktiv, jeden Schritt mit Schwung ganz intensiv, frei und glücklich in der weiten Natur, mit allem was du hast, du bist es pur. Du suchst nach einem Snack mit echtem Geschmack, etwas mit nem richtig guten Knack, etwas für die Seele und den Tatendrang. Ein Snack voll Protein, vegan, das ist Knekker. Dein Power-Snack zum Glück, einfach lecker. Mit Protein am Stück, frisch vom Bäcker. Vegan bringt dich in Form, das ist Knekker. Oh, er treibt dich weit nach vorn. Knekker, der mich mich vom Boden reißt, einfach lecker. Mit neuen Kräften Speis, frisch vom Bäcker. Mein Power-Snack zum Glück, das ist Knecker. Oh, er macht mich ganz verrückt, ganz verrückt.
This episode was brought to you by Swisspreneurs' main partner, Clara Business, the digital all-in-one solution for small businesses. Managing internal processes manually and on paper wastes an incredible amount of time. That's why Clara digitizes everything, allowing you to focus on what really matters, your core business. Go to clara.ch to find out how your business administration can be simpler, faster, and more efficient. Again, that's clara.ch.